Hey, Jonathan Clark with Cra-Z-Dreams, and today I want to talk to you about a problem that both men and women have, but that men are reluctant to admit or deal with, and that's anxiety. All right, so anxiety is a feeling of stress and unease that comes about from fear. It can be fear of loss, fear of danger, just any kind of fear that's making you extremely uneasy or making you, causing you to be unable to function in your daily life. So if you're experiencing any of that, then you might have some anxiety. So what does anxiety feel like? You might have some physical symptoms when you have anxiety: sweaty palms, shortness of breath, losing train of thought, nausea. These can be physical symptoms that arise when you have anxiety. Now, I'm going to give you some coping mechanisms that can help you curb anxiety on your own, but it's not a substitute for professional help. If you have anxiety, I highly recommend you go see a mental health professional. Men, there's no shame in having anxiety. About 1 in 5 males deal with anxiety, or at least admit to it, but it's probably higher because most of us don't talk about it, all right? I've had struggles with it. I know other guys have had struggles with it. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. If you're having anxiety, see a mental health professional that can keep you from having other complications like problems with alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and things that might impact your marriage or your family. So what are some ways that we can deal with anxiety on our own to kind of help minimize it or reverse it so we can get on with our lives? Well, the first thing I want to advise is to pay attention not attention. Pay attention, not attention. And what that means is when you start to go into a bout of anxiety, you'll tend to obsess over self. So you'll be preoccupied with things that could happen to you that you're worried about, and your mind just starts to get into this loop over and over and over again, thinking about things. It can be the same thing over again, or it can be a cycle where you're thinking of more exaggerated versions of a thought that kind of spin out of control. All right. But the heart of it is that you're obsessed with yourself and your own well-being. So when you get into that rut, what you first have to do is pay attention, which means you recognize that you're in that negative loop. And once you recognize it, you need to reverse it and redirect your thoughts in a more positive direction. What that means is you're going to pay attention to what's going on with you, but you're not going to pay attention, which means you're not going to add to the tension that you're feeling in the moment. All right. So the difference between how you feel when you're at peace is that you're more relaxed, versus when you have an anxiety, you tend to be tight and tense. Right. You don't want to feed into that tension. What you want to do is calm it down and reverse it. So what are some ways you can do that? Well, the first way you can do that is to have a gratitude list. When you start to focus on the things that you're grateful for, it can relax you and calm you down. Now, true gratitude is a feeling of thankfulness that brings about peace. So it's extremely difficult to have anxiety and be grateful and have gratitude at the same time. So if you can trigger your gratitude, it should help you relax pretty quickly if you start to think about things you're truly grateful for. People, places you visited, things you have in your life, experiences you've had. These are all things that can help you trigger your gratitude so you can be calm and enter a state of peace and relax. Now, with this gratitude list, it's really important that you write it down. You don't want to just say it out loud or think it to yourself. You want to actually write your gratitude list on paper, because the physical act of writing it is going to help you to relax, and it's also going to be a point of reference in the future. All right. So make sure you write down your gratitude list. Now, another thing you can do to curb anxiety is to perform an act of appreciation for somebody that's important to you. Doing an act of appreciation gets you focused on someone else besides yourself, and it allows you to recognize physically through action something that you're grateful for. Oh, I want appreciation. Act of appreciation. So when you finish your gratitude list, it's a great time to do that act of appreciation, because hopefully there's some people that you listed on your gratitude list, and you can easily transition into thinking of a way you can be thankful to that person. You can send them a gift with a note attached, write them a letter, call them up and say thank you, invite them to lunch. Whatever you can think of to pay your thanks, then that's what you want to do. And it's going to not only allow you to curb your anxiety, but also enhance your relationship at the same time. Now, a third thing you can do to curb anxiety is to volunteer. And volunteering is great for that because it takes the attention off of self and it gets you focused on people that are in need and probably less fortunate than you. So volunteering can curb anxiety as well. It gives you an opportunity to exert your power, because you get out there and you get to serve and act, and you get to show that you can help somebody else and that you have the power to change somebody else's life. So it's very important in empowering you, which is key to reversing anxiety, because people who have anxiety usually feel powerless over something, and so they start to worry about it and it starts to spin out of control. So reinforcing your power is very important and key. You don't want to just donate money. You want to get out and you want to do an act, volunteering to do an act of kindness to give back to somebody else. This not only takes the focus off of self, but it reinforces your gratitude, because you physically recognize that there are a lot of people who are not as well off as you are. And so it reminds you of what you have to be thankful for. Now, my fourth and final example of what you can do to curb anxiety is actually for yourself. And it's an act of self-love. All right. So performing an act of self-love can help with anxiety, because people who are anxious tend to be busy and have a lot going on sometimes. So if you're a person who's an overachiever and you tend to always have different things going on, it's extremely important that you get breaks and that you recharge and recover and take care of yourself. Taking the time out to show yourself care and do things that maybe you've been putting off for a while that you've always wanted to do, and just show self-appreciation helps curb your anxiety, because it's fulfilling your needs and filling your tank, so that when you go out to face whatever you face in the world or achieve whatever goals you want to achieve, you're replenished and you're full and you're able to face it head on. When you're tired and you're run down, it can increase the odds of you having anxiety, because you don't feel empowered or capable of dealing with day-to-day life. Now, when you take this time to yourself, make sure you set time aside. Don't try to squeeze it into a tight time frame. Not just an hour. Take a half day off, or maybe even a full day, and dedicate all that time to you. If you have a family, tell them in advance that, hey, this is my time. This is going to be my day or my half day. I'm not going to be accessible during this time. You know, you can turn your ringer off on your phone and just make sure they know you're going to be out of pocket, and that time is designated for you, and do things that you would enjoy doing. Don't do anybody else's to-do list or anything like that. Make sure it's only things that you want to do that make you feel recharged and energized. So to recap, the next time you're dealing with anxiety and you feel it coming on, you're going to pay attention and recognize you're in a negative loop. Then you're not going to pay attention. You're not going to feed into that tension. Instead, you're going to calm it down and you're going to reverse it and move your thoughts in a more positive direction. You're going to do that by writing down a gratitude list to remind you of what you're thankful for, doing an act of appreciation for somebody you're grateful for, volunteering to help people less fortunate than you, not a donation, but actually physically volunteering to go help somebody so you can experience that act of empowerment, and act of self-love. You're going to take some time out for yourself and take care of yourself with no distractions and no interruptions. All right, so those are all my tips for today. Next time, we're going to talk about ways to prevent anxiety and take a more preventative approach. Today was about ways to curb it, but next time we're going to talk about what can you do to help prevent experiencing the anxiety in the first place. All right. Again, this is John with Cra-Z-Dreams. Thank you for tuning in and have a great evening.